Hello, everyone. Welcome to TAtech's Growthcast. I'm Peter Weddle, the founder and CEO of TAtech. Growthcast is a webcast that we do every single month, focusing on topics that will help HR and talent acquisition leaders get the most out of their talent technology. But today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to talk about a new member benefit for TAtech members that has to do with market research. So I'd like to invite my guest up on the virtual stage, Sarah White. She is the founder and CEO of AppCast 43, which
That's right.
describes itself as, what did I say?
Appcast.
Oh, sorry, Aspect 43.
That's
Got
okay. We all have Appcasts on our minds sometimes.
it. Which is a research company that focuses on product marketing and strategic clarity for solution providers in the HR and TA tech space. So, Sarah, now that I've got your name right, tell me a little bit more about yourself and your company.
Absolutely. So my name is Sarah White. I have been in the TA Tech space since the 90s. And so started as a recruiter and worked my way through a number of vendors, have had two exits of my own, and started Aspect 43 about 5 years ago, really to get the answers to the questions that I couldn't get answered, both when I was a practitioner and I was trying to do research around how to buy, what are all these new technologies, but even more so as when I was a CMO and head of strategy, all of the things that I really needed to understand to make better strategic decisions around my product roadmap and around my go to market. And so that's where we ended up.
Great. Okay, so let's talk first about the talent technology market.
Yes.
According to Zippia, 97% of employers plan to increase their investment in recruiting technology by the end of 2025. So even if that number is off by half, it
Yeah.
is a strong market today. That's the good news. The not such good news is that this market is increasingly competitive, increasingly hard to stay on top of. So, how do you see the market? What dynamics are driving the technology market today?
Absolutely. So our research, we run a big research every year called State of HR Tech or Insights at Work, depending on how you're coming through it. We are finding maybe not 97%, but we are definitely finding that investment is increasing in TA Tech. We had a couple of a blip years, which obviously most of us felt, most of our clients felt, but the market is shifting. But what is really changing is the expectations around those purchases. And so people are really needing to have clarity and a really clear understanding of what a product does and how it helps them versus, okay, well, everybody's talking about this brand or everybody's talking about this thing and I just have to buy it. The process is a little bit slower and people are less tolerant, I would say, for buzzwords. And so it's really figuring out that connection a little bit better than we really have had to in 5 or 8 years. We had a good run, to be honest, and now we're really reverting back to more of a similar buying pattern and buying cycle to what we were seeing in 2012 to 2016.
Okay, so it's a strong market, but it's a challenging one, and as you
Yes.
point out, it's been that way for quite a while. Maybe it's more intense now,
Yes.
but we at TA Tech have always tried to help our members gain a competitive advantage. For example, we offer a talent technology buyer's guide, which is aggressively promoted to employers and recruiters worldwide. But now we're partnering with you with Aspect 43. So tell us exactly what kind of research will you be providing to TA Tech members?
So in Q1, Q2, we have our TA Tech landscape report. And so this is for practitioners, for TA leaders, for talent leaders, that very different than the buyer guide, but ours is really looking at the overall landscape of what are all of the categories, what is emerging, what is new, how are things consolidating, what are some of the expectations that they could could be thinking about when building out business cases, building out ROIs to really help them understand. These larger landscape reports actually are often used by investment banks. They are used in a number of universities as curriculum because all of our research for practitioners is 100% for free. We do not have any revenue line at all around practitioners paying us for access because we believe the better educated they are, the easier and quicker they're able to buy the technology. So that is a starting point. And so the TAtech members will be in the front line of who is being asked to come interview with our analyst team about the research. What is trending? What are they seeing? Maybe provide things where we can highlight case in points and that within the research itself. The other things that are being offered is our HR tech research on the back end for our members traditionally have a very extensive amount of data around buyer behavior, buyer trending. As TAtech members, you're going to get access to that specifically around your audiences. And so around your customers, around your prospects. We work with a number of companies, dozens of vendors in the space every year that are our clients already, where we can actually go in and benchmark their audiences, customers, prospects, lost customers, attendees at a particular event. We can do this all against the overall broader market. What comes out of that is we've been able to determine massive product marketing shifts, changing product roadmaps. We have done multiple M&As out of this. Huge emphasis on partnerships. So we're really clearly able to identify and find where partners should be expanded and enhanced, and not just by guess, but we actually now will have the data specific to your audiences, specific to your customers, specific to your prospects. And the best part of that is you don't have to provide us with any identifying data about your customers at all. We've been able to figure this out and have been running this for about 7 years with billion-dollar companies and startups.
Well, let me see if I've got this right. So what aspect 43 will provide to a TAtech member is a report based on their current and prospective customers about what they're looking for, how they're going to go get it, how they're going to go to market, what their priorities are, that kind of thing. Is that right?
Yes. And we can do this very specific to those audiences. If there's something great about hearing like, hey, 97% of TA buyers are buying software this year. Okay, great. Well, I sell this one part of this bubble. What are my clients doing? What are my prospects doing? Do I have the right list? Do I have the right go-to-market approach? Am I doing all of the things the right way? And then also looking at some of the emotional drivers. What is happening in the process to make them shortlist a company like you? What is happening during the sales process to make them sign with you versus sign with a competitor? And so it really is about making sure that we have the right data points, both for your marketing efforts and your go-to-market motions, as well as your go-to-market motions as it moves into sales. And so we work really closely at smaller companies with executives, but at larger companies, we're working very, very closely with CROs, CMOs, and often with corp dev and product also. If we're trying to identify where people are buying, what they're buying, we index about 37 categories within the TAtech market for market movement, buyer interest, buyer disinterest, first-time buys, replacement buys, as well as we can look and see how many people just don't understand what something does. We don't really understand this category, what the technology, we don't see the business impact. And then we work often with a number of the vendors within those more unique subcategories within the TAtech or HR tech space. And we then come up with a stronger go-to-market that we can all cohesively be doing. Oftentimes when we see that, it's just a language issue. Everybody's talking about it differently and we're confusing the market. So our goal is really to make sure that every vendor in the space has the data to be able to make data-informed decisions on their go-to-market strategy, on their product roadmap strategy, on their partner strategy. And we can do what we are looking at, again, not in this generic way necessarily, but specifically for our audiences so we can meet the needs. And what we're finding with moving to this type of a model is the companies that are doing this are able to cut their time to close deals significantly, and many are cutting their marketing budgets back because they're able to get far more targeted and more intentional on every single thing that they're doing. Our research and the way it is crafted is actually designed. We meet with about 30 to 50 a year, CMOs, CROs, head of corporate dev, to really find out what are the questions that you guys need to know to be able to make better decisions around your product marketing, your go-to-market, your marketing efforts, your sales process, so that we can get deals closed faster and you understand them better. On the flip side, we're working with practitioners across talent acquisition, even into procurement, IT, into some of the in leadership, and asking them, what different things do you need from technology vendors in the sales process so that we can help answer the questions that you need and we can close deals faster. Right now, we're finding about a third of all of the deals in the TA market are lost because the vendor takes too long. They're slowing down the sales process. They're adding too many steps. They're adding too much stuff in discovery. And so a buyer who is actively and ready to buy is actually leaving and just going to somebody else because they're tired of dealing with it, which is an absurd high number.
Go ahead. No, which is what?
It's an absurdly high number, like to lose a third of your stuff over process errors.
Exactly. So TAtech members will get a customized report for free that has much of this data. And then if they like, they can buy into a much larger report and much more comprehensive report at reduced rates. Is that right?
Yes. So the members are we're going to start doing something like this quarterly, where we will do quarterly updates for any of the members, and they can join and hear what's happening, trends in the market, all of that type of stuff. They will also get the opportunity to do the benchmarking, which is where we do this custom report that you get back. That is something that runs January and February. So there is a link in the notes. Just fill that out and we will get you all set up, whether you want to participate in benchmarking or make sure you're set up on the other piece. We can get that over there. And then you do have the option to buy into our full HR Tech Collective, which is not TA specific. It is a little bit broader. But what that does is it gives you full access to all of the back end of the data, not just your own, and not just how you benchmark it, but there's a ton of data. There's hundreds of pages of other research around go-to-market, buyer behavior, not just on TA, but on other markets if you are interested in having that. But the other big thing that does is that actually is what sponsors and underwrites all of our research that we do. Our entire analyst team is funded by the TAtech Collective, and that is how we're able to provide unbiased research, no pay for play, no extra cost to any of the practitioners. We have a new site that is an entire practitioner facing site launching in January. So they're able to come in and not even set up they don't have to give us an email address, because we just want them to have access to the information. And so all of our talent collective members, our HR Tech Collective members will have their logos up on the new site, link backs. They're highlighted as a partner that's working around free research. They have opportunity for free distribution if they're looking for content for their marketing teams to do distribution on. They get free content from us that they can do distribution on, which I know a lot of marketing teams like. But really, most of them are wanting for two things. One, they want extra reach with logos everywhere. And two, they want the additional data. And they want a much deeper dive, not just into their own data, but into the overall data and everything else. And there's no avenue to get that cheaper than through TAtech.
Cool. So I know you talked about it a little bit, but I'd like you to come back now and just for TAtech members getting their free report, how can they use that data that you're going to provide and get to position themselves to a competitive advantage in the marketplace? Just practically speaking, what can they do with that data?
Practically speaking, so the data that comes out of there, there's more, but as a starting point, if you're looking at trying to basically understand why people are making decisions and what those trigger points are, you get an overview of what is actually the key drivers. Why are they buying the technology? What else is happening in the business outside of the TA buyer specifically that you're going to have to address and be able to talk to? And we kind of start at that, looking at how you actually reach them and getting that shortlisting. We can give you, it tells you exactly how do they want to be contacted, how do they want to communicate with you, what are they showing up for? Are they showing up for webinars? Cool. Are they showing up for webinars that are expert based? Are they showing up for webinars that are case study based? Are they showing up for webinars that are just because they have credits? Okay. Or are they wanting white papers or ebooks or case studies? We index a whole number of different type of content channels, and we do find vendor to vendor those responses very, very different. We then move in on the sales side, and with the sales stuff, okay, how do they actually want to engage? When do they want to see the demo? Do they want to have stuff before they contact you? How much gating are they comfortable with? How many steps are they comfortable with in that sales process? Why wouldn't they decide you versus another product? The same diving into product. What about your product is not working for them? Why are people considering leaving? We do ask some questions around the customer success side, the implementation side. There's about 2,700 data points in the full report. For the benchmarking, we try to get it down really to what is very targeted and specifically going to have the biggest impact for companies, which is typically, hey, here's the top concerns that your buyers are focused on for this upcoming year. Here's the type of content that they're looking for and where you can find them, what podcasts they're listening to, what analysts they're paying attention to. Like, here's how you can actually get in front of them effectively. Here's what's happening in the sales process that will help you speed up the sale if you make a couple of these modifications. And then here's the other type of products they're buying. So here's the top 5 things they are actively buying. Broken down again, we index about 35 to 40 TA specific categories. So here's the top 5 categories they are saying they are buying within the next 12 months. Here are the ones that they're starting to research, though. These research ones become very, very important when it comes to partnerships. We typically find that we have somewhere between 9 and 18 months before those ones get bought. And so you're able to start making very strategic decisions on partnerships, or in some cases, M&A. And then if you find your product is one of those products that is in the, I don't understand the value of this, or we're not interested in this at all, then that's usually a signal of one of 2 things. We are either in a brand new emerging market, or we're not explaining this market effectively, and we need to come together a little bit broader and start thinking about how and why what we're doing isn't connecting with this audience very well. And we might have to change some of the messaging, the language, the positioning that is happening.
So, just to help folks on the show today better understand what it is, what kind of data you provide, can you pull out off the top of your head? I know this is kind of unfair, but off the top of your head, some of the data points that came out of your 2024 research that were particularly important or interesting or unexpected for you?
I'll pull 3 from benchmarking over the last couple of years that were very specific. We had a vendor that decided to benchmark, and they had just done a $10 million investment in marketing. New CMO, new marketing team, all like spent a ton of money over an 18-month period. And we were doing benchmarking for them every other year. And so we came in and did benchmarking second year with them after all of this investment had been made. And at the same time, the sales CRO had called and said, hey, they're going to fire me because they're saying that I'm not closing the deals. We're not getting the leads. And they keep telling me they're getting leads and we're not getting leads. Everybody was doing this, right? Never happens. No, we never see sales, marketing, and everybody else pointing fingers.
Always one big happy family.
Always. I wouldn't have a company if that was true. So, but what we were able to go in and do is that we did find that the metrics, I mean, this was a little bit larger than just this part of the project, but the metrics within their benchmarking of their prospect benchmarking versus who their actual customers were, those ICPs or the customer profiles were not aligned at all. And when we started diving in, one of the key questions we ask is, are you a buyer of these type of solutions, right? Like, do you buy these solutions? And the way we do our survey is very validated. We're the largest buyer behavior research in the world around TAtech and HR tech. And we are validated with 14 paths to make sure that every answer we get is validated and specific. And so we asked this one question. In this case, all of this $10 million marketing effort led to 17% of buyers. So 73% of the people that were coming through this marketing channel, going through webinars, going through all of this type of stuff, actually had no influence, say, or decision making in HR tech at all. All of the metrics were ran on the opposite way. We were able to get in front of the board using data and say, hey, don't fire the CRO. This isn't a sales issue. You guys are now going to market and your whole marketing channels are going off. You hired the wrong agency. And so all of your numbers look good, but it's not right. Prior to hiring that agency, they were at a 64%, just for comparison. We had another company who had been fighting about a product roadmap for a number of years, and one particular thing being added to the product roadmap. And so we did this benchmarking, exact same benchmarking we were talking about, did the benchmarking. We found that about 70% of their customer base were planning to buy this one particular category of product within the next 12 months. Obviously, products not very happy because they have been told over and over no on this one build that they knew was coming. And so Corp Dev stepped in, saw these metrics. Corp Dev stepped in and said, we don't have time to do this now. We helped facilitate an acquisition. Within 4 months, they made an acquisition. We worked with product to get it then put into roadmap, and sales was selling this all within 9.5 months. And so there's very real practical things. Another area was with messaging, right? A company was selling XYZ. All of their categories were showing this is what it was, but they had decided to go to market using kind of a made up buzzwordy term that people didn't understand. And so they were getting a huge amount of pushback. And so they're like, oh gosh, if everybody actually is buying these three things, maybe we should actually say that we're selling recruitment marketing. We actually do sell this. We're not going to create a whole new language and category that is only confusing the buyer. And fourth one, maybe if I have time for a fourth one, we had a company that was struggling with churn. And they thought they had about a 12% churn issue coming, and they were obviously concerned with that because it seemed to have been increasing. When we did this, they were very specific, point solution in one place. With the benchmarking, we were able to identify that about 3/4 of their customers were planning to replace them in the next 12 months. And so they had a 13% churn problem. They had a 74% churn problem. But because we had all of the other data, we were able to work backwards and figure out where they were most unhappy, what was happening, and be able to figure out it was actually an implementation customer success problems that were going on and creating all of these issues. And so there's 4 very real examples of how this data is being used to support growth, retention, and some brand awareness.
Well, those are fascinating stories, and we're unfortunately coming to the end of our time together, but it reminds me, first of all, for those of you that would like to hear more about Aspect 43's 2025 research, Sarah is going to be speaking at TAtech North America and the World Job Board Forum in June. That's June 3 through 5 at Oceanside, which is just north of San Diego in California. So she's going to not only be speaking there, but leading a moderated discussion about some of the most current data that her research is finding about the customer base, customer behaviors. Her story about trying to make sure that you've got your product portfolio aligned with what your customer wants is also pertinent for that conference because we've invited a speaker. He's the CEO of a job board called Career, Kariyer, career.net. It's the largest job board in Turkey. I had him speak at TAtech Europe this year, and he was such a hit that I've asked him to come and join us at TAtech North America in June. And his company is still a job board, but they have aligned with that job board a vertically integrated portfolio of services so that they can literally offer an employer every kind of product or service they might need from the very top of the recruitment funnel to the bottom, from outbound sourcing and recruitment marketing down to onboarding. So it's a different kind of business model, and the way that he informed which products he was going to build internally and which products he was going to acquire via partnering was based on the kinds of research that Sarah has just described. So, Sarah, as I mentioned, we've just about come to the end of our time together. Do you have one sort of final thought that you'd like to leave with folks on the show today?
Absolutely. Well, we'll be talking about the research in June at the forum. The research itself is actually going to be kicking off in January and will run through February. Most people want to get their data and their benchmarking results back in March timeframe so they can make any adjustments to the 2025. So if you are interested in getting involved in the benchmarking or getting involved kind of in a broader way to make sure that you are included in some of our upcoming TAtech reports and things that we are publishing in Q1. Again, there is a form in the drop-in, or just shoot me over an email. My email address is there. In order to participate in benchmarking, we actually do not need any of your customer data. We have been able to do this in a very protected way, and it is surveyed early stage all the way up through large enterprise, and our survey at this point is running in 47 countries globally around buyer behavior.
Great. Thank you.
Excellent.
So,
thank you.
If your company is already a TAtech member, look for a message in early January about this program, about the free research that you will have access to and the discounted larger research that Sarah was describing that you will also have access to as a TAtech member. If your company is not a TAtech member, we'd love to have you join our community. Just go to TAtech.org, click on the Join tab, and then the link for solution providers. So there you have it. This is today's Growthcast show. Sarah, thanks very much for joining us. It was great to have you here. I certainly learned a lot, and I hope all of you will come back for our next Growthcast here at TAtech. We'll look forward to